Hello everyone, I am Fihung. Today Fihung will explain to you an Indian movie called Andhadhun. This is a 2018 Indian black humor crime thriller with many twists and turns throughout the film, which is very worthy of appreciation. Let's get to the point now. His name is Akash. He's a pianist pretending to be blind. He also wants to draw creative inspiration from life. Akash has always had a musical dream. He wants to participate in an international piano competition in London in 2 months. Can be cash-strapped, want to make some extra money by teaching piano. Walking on the street today, Akash was hit by a girl on a motorcycle while crossing the road. This is a wonderful encounter because the other party is a lively, cheerful, beautiful and kind-hearted girl. This girl's name is Sophie. Sophie heard that Akash is a pianist. He invited Akash to play in his restaurant. Sophie admires Akash, who is engaged in art. Worried that it would be inconvenient for Akash to travel, Sophie picked up and dropped off Akash every day. Akash attracted more customers to the restaurant with his outstanding scenes, Akash and tips every day. At the same time, the relationship between Akash and Sophie is also developing rapidly. Successfully captured Sophie's heart. One night, a film actor named Pramod invites him to perform at his home tomorrow. Because tomorrow is his and his wife's wedding anniversary, Pramod wants to give his wife a surprise. The next day, Akash arrived on time. After ringing the doorbell, the person who opened the door was a middle-aged woman. Her name is Simi, but she looked a little nervous, seems unwilling to let Akash in. Then Mrs. Disa, a neighbor, heard a noise and opened the door. Simi reluctantly let him in. After entering the door, Akash was led to the piano by Simi. Simi first calls Pramod, asks what's going on. After hanging up the phone, Simi asked Akash, "Are you completely blind, or can you see a little?" Akash says totally blind. Simi breathed a sigh of relief. Akash starts playing a tune. Joyful notes beat in the room. The sound of the piano stopped suddenly, because Akash suddenly noticed a body lying in the corner. He forced himself to calm down. Akash is about to go to the bathroom and take a rest. Simi helped Akash step over the blood on the floor and walk to the bathroom. Only then did Akash see that the dead man was Pramod, who invited him to play the piano. Flowers and broken wine bottles were scattered next to the body. After coming to the bathroom, Akash was scared out of his wits again, because there was actually a strong man in cool clothes, standing in the corner holding a gun. Akash's mind is spinning rapidly. I quickly figured out the cause and effect of the matter. It should be Pramod, who went home early with gifts. Pramod wanted to surprise his wife. As a result, he accidentally walked in on his wife and a strong man. The two simply killed Pramod. Akash, in order to save his own life, Akash forced himself to remain calm, keep pretending to be blind, then play the piano. Simi and the strong man began to clean up the scene and put the body in the suitcase. Simi then used Pramod's previous recording to perform a double act, make it look like Pramod's home. Then she deliberately said that Pramod was going out. Simi sent the lover out to dump the body. This continuous plan is so logical. That's all. The strong man puts on Pramod clothes. The strong man went out to dump the corpse, left the murder scene safely. Maybe it was because the scene just now was too exciting. Akash sat on the side of the road and calmed down. At the same time, I was debating whether to go to the police station or not. This is a lady who came here to sell lottery tickets. Seeing the tattoo of Lord Shiva on Wayan's arm guiding Akash, Akash, who was devoted to God, finally made up his mind. Get in the car and go straight to the police station. When Akash got to the station and was about to tell, Akash saw the strong man coming out of the office. He took a breath of air. Isn't this the man who was hiding in the bathroom just now? He quickly changed his story and said that his cat was lost. The strong man noticed something was wrong. The strong man followed Akash home under the pretext of finding a cat. It turns out that this strong man is police chief Manora. When Akash got home, Akash hides the contact lens case immediately. But the newspaper on the table caught Manora's attention. How can a blind man read a newspaper? He therefore suspected that Akash was pretending to be blind. Akash quickly explained, "This newspaper is for cats to go to the toilet." This seems to make sense. Then Manora walked around the house again, didn't find anything suspicious. Then he picked up a fruit knife and threw it to her. Fortunately, Akash's mental quality was not exposed. Fortunately, the kitten showed up in time. Only then did Manora dispel her doubts, leave with peace of mind. A few days later, news about the case began to be broadcast on TV. Pramod's body found. Simi revealed to the media. The husband walked out with 10 million in cash. The money was for the real estate deal. Never came back after that. This case is a simple case of murder. That night, Manora deliberately left Pramod's watch in the bar urinal. A drunkard found the watch. Naturally, he became the scapegoat. After some punching and kicking, The scapegoat was beaten into submission because Akash went to Pramit's house on the day of the incident, so he was also invited to the police station. Akash saw Simi pretending to be wiping tears. Next to him sat a sad little girl. It's the girl from Pramit and his ex-wife. Manora has already written her testimony in advance. As long as Akash signs to prove that Simi did not lie, this murder case will be solved. Manora and Simi will escape intact. Akash looked at the poor girl who lost her father, watched again, but the two scheming murderers finally couldn't bear it anymore. I can't help it. I want to expose your crimes.
सब झूठे लोगों ने मिलकर प्रमोद का खून किया, बॉडी को पैक कर दिया, बैग के अंदर अंगूठी निकली, तोड़ दिया टुक करके यार. मैं देख सकता हूं, आंखें देखो, मैं देख.
But this is just an impulsive thought. He could only sign the confession silently. At the funeral, Akash was invited to play the piano on the spot. Pramit's neighbor Mrs. Dissa also came to express her condolences. Mrs. Dissa told a police officer at the scene, before the blind pianist arrived at Pramit's house on the day of the crime, there is also a strong man in his home. Mrs. Dissa suspected that this strong man was the murderer, and claimed that if he saw him again, he would definitely recognize him. This policeman doesn't seem very smart. He actually went directly to ask Simi if he had seen a strong man on the day of the incident. Simi lied and said that was the pizza delivery boy. Akash played Pramit's favorite tune. Pramit's daughter immediately expressed her desire to learn this song from Uncle Akash. Akash because he feels guilty about Pramit. At Pramit's daughter's request, Akash agreed to be her piano teacher. The next day, Simi knocked on Mrs. Dissa's door, claiming to be dizzy. I want to borrow some medicine from the other party. Mrs. Dissa quickly went to the room to get medicine. After returning, Mrs. Dissa saw Simi standing shaky by the window. Mrs. Dissa stepped forward to help. Just in time for Akash, who came to teach Pramit's daughter, to see the scene. Akash calmed down quickly. Now he can only continue to pretend to be blind. Akash witnessed Simi's two murder scenes. Now Simi began to wonder whether Akash was truly blind or falsely blind. Manora led the team to the scene and hastily concluded that Mrs. Dissa slipped and fell to her death. When Pramit's daughter learned that Mrs. Dissa died tragically, she was not in the mood to learn to play the piano. Akash, who was in a panic, also took the opportunity to go home. When Akash got home, he called Sophie and invited her to come home, prepared to tell her the truth. At this time, a little boy from the neighbor saw Akash, looking panicked. The little boy held up his phone and pointed it at the window of Akash's house. Doorbell rang. The person coming is not Sophie, it's Simi. Simi sent the offerings of the Pramit prayer meeting to Akash to taste. Akash ate it without thinking twice. Akash fumbles to make 2 cups of coffee. Then Simi brought a screen mask to see if Akash was blind. Fortunately, Akash has excellent mental quality. No flaws revealed. Simi's plan failed and she found another plan. Simi actually poured poison into Akash's coffee cup in front of him. Akash can't help it either. He can only pretend to knock over the cup, but this also exposed him completely. Simi pulled out his pistol. Akash raised his hands. He pulled the trigger. It turned out to be just a toy gun. Then the two sat down and started negotiating. Akash said he didn't want to get involved in this matter. Suddenly Akash felt weak, collapsed on the ground. Although he didn't drink that cup of coffee, but he ate the tribute. Sophie arrived downstairs. The little boy stopped him, let him pay for a video. After watching the video, Sophie learns that her boyfriend is pretending to be blind. Sophie flew into a rage. She hurriedly went upstairs and knocked on the door to confront Akash. The person who opened the door was Simi without any clothes on, and Akash was lying naked on the bed at this time. Sophie didn't know her boyfriend had been poisoned, thinking that the other person is having an affair without telling her, and the scheming Simi is still fanning the flames. She expressed with an aggrieved look that her husband had just died. Akash is just comforting himself. Sophie was so angry that she had nothing to say, slammed the door and leave. While he's unconscious, Simi poisoned Akash blind. This move is extremely vicious. Akash became blind. He would never be able to prove what he saw. Subsequently, Simi walks down the stairs, deleted the video from the boy's phone. That is the only evidence that Akash was once a normal person. Before she left, she did not forget to take back the money she had given the boy. Simi left, then found Manora. She told him about the poisoning of Akash, but Manora accuses Simi of being too benevolent. Akash should not have been left alive. That night, Manora sneaks into Akash's house to kill him. Akash resists desperately. In a panic, Akash jumped out of the window. He ran about in the street, as a result knocked oneself unconscious. When he wakes up, already lying in a private hospital. Could Akash have met God? The people who rescued Akash were Saku, the eldest sister, who sold her lottery tickets before, and her husband, Murli. In fact, the main occupations of the Murli couple are human organ traffickers. The two have sold Akash to Dr. Ambike clinic. Dr. Ambike enthusiastically said that he would help Akash cure his eyes, deceived Akash to go to the operating table. But just when Dr. Ambike was about to perform surgery to remove his organs, Akash suddenly realized something was wrong. Akash struggled wildly. Obviously no match for these three people. Now he can only outsmart. He thinks these three people are just trying to make money. Akash immediately said that he could give them 10 million. He also kept saying that he would swear by the tattoo of Lord Shiva on Saka's arm. No one paid attention to what Akash said. Dr. Ambike injects the anesthesia needle. Akash immediately became quiet. But when Dr. Ambike was preparing to operate again, Saku realized something was wrong. Saku said, Akash, how could a blind man see the tattoo of Lord Shiva on his arm? Mistaken Akash for a reincarnated god, one way or another. aka Sich's life is temporarily saved. He told Saku and the other three people all the bizarre experiences he had in the past few days. He also proposed a plan to kidnap Simi and blackmail Manora to make a fortune. This is more profitable than harvesting human organs and taking human lives. The three reached a cooperation. Akash came to Simi's house. Simi feels like seeing a ghost. Then he deliberately asked Simi to take him home. Halfway down the road, the car was stopped by a three-wheeler. Suddenly Akash took out a white cloth and covered her nose and mouth. Mr. and Mrs. Murli got off the tricycle, kidnapped Simi and create a suicide scene. Then Akash contacted Manora and his wife and extorted 10 million. Otherwise, go to the media and report him for murder and cheating. In addition, then the four of them took Simi back to the clinic. Dr. Ambike took Simi's blood. Then the four of them talked through Simi, make her confess to 2 murders. After the recording, evidence of 2 murder cases was obtained. Also blackmailed Simi for 10 million. The four set the trading location in an unfinished building, then assigned their respective tasks. Doctors Ambike and Akash stay at the clinic to supervise Simi. The Murli couple were responsible for going to the building to collect the ransom money. The time to trade is coming soon. Akash thought everything was going according to plan. Unexpectedly, before departure, the Murli couple suddenly tied up Akash too. It turns out that they still don't trust Akash. He just joined the team, so he and Simi were locked up in the warehouse. They planned to pocket huge sums of money. The Murli couple then came to the building where the ransom was traded. According to the plan, Manora needs to put the ransom money in the elevator. Saku is in the control room on the first floor, will control the elevator to go up. Murli is upstairs collecting the ransom. The plan went very smoothly at the beginning. Unexpectedly, Manora made a surprising move. After Manora paid the ransom, chase yourself upstairs through the stairs, just in time to catch Murli, who had received the ransom. Manora said nothing, shot Murli directly in the neck, then entered the elevator again, prepare to go downstairs and kill Saku. As a result, he was locked in the elevator by Saku. Frustrated, Manora raised her hand and fired. Unexpectedly, he was shot to death by a bullet that ricocheted off. It can be considered that evil is rewarded with evil. Saku received the ransom and took his husband to the hospital, but still couldn't save Murli. Things that made Saku collapse even more. The ransom in the bag is also fake, just a pile of waste paper. And in the clinic on the other side, Simi invites Akash to escape together, but neither of them believed each other. Finally, I had to think of a compromise. Akash helps Simi take off the blindfold. Simi helps Akash remove the rope. Such a visible, one can act. Only two people can restrain each other. Simi directed Akash to crash around. Simi cut the rope with a knife. Then Simi picked up a cane and knocked Akash to the ground. Just at this time, Dr. Ambike pushed open the door and entered. Simi stabbed Dr. Ambike crazily with a knife. Akash hugged Simi tightly from behind. Dr. Ambike then used anesthetic to stun Simi, just threw the person into the trunk of the car. Dr. Ambike knows Saku that the blackmail plan failed, so I decided to run away quickly. The car is driving on the country road. Dr. Ambike's face was filled with joy, as if he had won the lottery. Akash asks Doctor where Ambike is going. Dr. Ambike said to cash in the jackpot. A private jet is waiting for us in Mumbai. It turns out the daughter of the Saudi royal family needs a liver transplant, but she has the rare blood type B1, and Simi happens to have this blood type. Now just take Simi to Bangkok airport and hand her over. Dr. Ambike will receive 60 million rupees. Dr. Ambike promises to give Akash 10 million and told Akash he could use Simi's cornea. The two of them drove past a tree that looked like a liver. Time flies to London, England 2 years later. Sophie came to London for a trip this day, saw a bar by accident. There is a poster of a blind pianist at the door. At this time Akshi has become a small star. Sophie walks into the bar. She discovered that the man playing the piano was her ex-boyfriend Akasha. Wait until the song ends. Sophie asked Akash jokingly if it was because he was exposed, so he changed places and continued to lie to people. Akash recognized Sophie's voice. He smiled bitterly and said that everything is a long story. Then they found a coffee shop to chat. Akash told the unfinished story of that year. Time goes back to the escape road 2 years ago. Although Dr. Ambike gave generous terms, but Akash still endures. He begged Dr. Ambike to let Simi go. Send she to the police station, judgment by law. Dr. Ambike naturally disagrees. Just then, there was movement in the trunk. It seems that Simi woke up. Dr. Ambike parked his car on the roadside. Prepare to give Simi a booster shot. Car restarts. The next scene is really unexpected. Akash is blind. He didn't know the main driver had changed. He is still begging Dr. Ambike to let Simi go. Maybe it's because of Akash's heartfelt words. Simi seemed shaken. He stopped suddenly, kicked Akash out of the car. That's all. Simi drives away. It seems that Simi's conscience is still intact. The story is over. Of course it's impossible. Don't be too naive. Simi suddenly makes a U-turn, then step on the accelerator, speeding towards Akash. Turns out she was going to kill Akash. Emergency moment. A blind rabbit suddenly jumped out on the roadside, hit the car, caused a car accident. Simi died accidentally in an explosion caused by a car accident. Akash came to London with the help of a friend. Say goodbye to that nightmare. Started a new life. Akash's story ends here. Akash and Sophie before parting. He took the rabbit head guide stick from the waiter. Sophie angrily expressed that women like Simi deserve to die. Sophie says Akash should have listened to Dr. Ambike, sold Simi's kidney, and removed Simi's cornea. Angry words about Sophie. Akash did not respond. Akash left in silence. The end of the story. Akash walks alone on the street. He suddenly raised the guide stick in his hand. He accurately knocked a can off the ground. Obviously, his eyes can see again. The video ends here. The idea for the film comes from a 14-minute short film of the same name in 2010. The film adaptation is relatively successful. Many details have been added, while maintaining the charm of the original story. The ending is even more amazing. The scene of the cane flying away with a cane is enough for the audience to derive many story versions. The most mainstream view is Akash's eyesight regained. He continues to pretend to be a blind pianist in London, lived a decent life. The cornea that restored vision came from Simi. Some people say that everything was made up by Akash. In fact, Akash was never blind. If you have different opinions, welcome to leave a message. That ends today. Thank you all for your support. If we're doing well, I hope everyone will pay attention, subscribe and recommend. Let more people see our videos. Goodbye.